As a matter of fact, one of the things I talk about in the book is how the Vatican made sure when the pedophilia crisis broke out that they were insulated from any judgment, and what they were afraid of is that some clever American lawyer would figure out a way to sue the Vatican because it has a lot of money. That's where the billions are. And they did. Class action lawsuits were filed in the U.S. against the Pope, back then Benedict, the previous Pope, saying he was the ultimate employer of the pedophile priest. That scared the hell out of them in Rome. But all of them got dismissed because the Vatican very cleverly played the sovereign card. They went into court and said, sorry, he, Benedict, he, the Pope, or Francis, whoever, is head of a sovereign state. Sovereign immunity applies, a theory that you cannot sue a foreign head of a country in an American court. They were all thrown out. So the Vatican plays the sovereign card when it wants to, plays the religion card when it wants to, such as avoiding taxes on billions of dollars of property in New York and Rome. That's a different question.
It's incredible, and I actually want to revisit this Archdiocese of New York and their fire sale with property in a minute. But first, I want to talk about this visit for the Pope. Now, it's costing a lot of money, from chartered planes to extensive security detail. You have road closures. All of this stuff costs money. In fact, it's been estimated that Philadelphia, his visit to Philadelphia, it's costing the city roughly $48 million alone. So who is footing the bill? Is it the Vatican or the municipality?
Well, you're asking a great question that nobody really has an answer for. I'm asking that same question, and I can't quite get an answer. I'll give you a perfect, Philly's the prime example. $48 million, that's not as much as New York's spending. We see it here in New York. They're closing streets. They put up an 8-foot fence the other day along Fifth Avenue, faster than Hungary could ever have built a fence in a remarkable time overnight. So there's a lot of money being spent. In Philadelphia, the Meeting of Families, which is the group of families and Catholic organizations that invited the Pope there, they say we're going to cover it by raising money and contributions, and nobody's sure they will, but they claim that. The state has already authorized a bill through the state legislature to pay for up to $40 million in case not enough money is raised, so taxpayers may be hit with it. We're not quite sure. I do know that when the Pope went to Brazil, this Pope, on a recent visit, there was nearly $25 to $30 million of costs that were paid for, and it brought demonstrators out onto the street who thought the government should not be paying for that. It should have been picked up by the church. So this is an issue, but I guarantee you it's not going to break the Vatican, but taxpayers are going to pick up some of this cost.
That's interesting, and the fact that even if the state would allocate $40 million, they only have to make another $8. They're not holding the majority of the costs regardless.
That's right. Now, some of this, what's clearly going to happen here, I believe, you have a governor who's Catholic here, a mayor who's not necessarily, but he's very strongly pro-Pope. Everybody wants the Francis effect, so they're being kind. So some of the New York City security that's strictly for the pontiff will get shunted aside as saying it's really for the UN, because the UN is also meeting at the same time. He's traveling near the same areas. They'll say there's an overlap, and it depends on where they put it on the ledger. Governments are very good about making sure it's not on the wrong ledger. Nobody wants to embarrass the Vatican. Nobody wants to run a story later with you running a lead story on Boom and Bust about the fact that New York City taxpayers got hit with $100 million. So I guarantee you they'll somehow hide it.